Hello everyone, what's up? This is Rich. This is part 4 of the instructional series for the Windows Live Mail client. In this video I'm going to show you how to do a couple of basic tips and tricks to get around to make things a little easier for you. What I'm going to show you is tools and then options. In here, this is what you need to know. Under the general section, there's really not much you really need to pay attention to here, except for the checkbox that says help make Microsoft software and services even better by sending usage data to Microsoft. If you are the type of person that does not want Microsoft to know what you're doing with your mail client, which by the way does not send any personal information, but if you're paranoid about that, uncheck this box. I have it unchecked because they don't need to know what I'm doing as far as I'm concerned. And over here is how often do you check for the mail? I have it check every 3 minutes. If you're using a POP-based account, you can set it to every 1 minute if you want to because it can handle it. If you're using Hotmail, 3 minutes. If you're using IMAP, I'd recommend setting it to 10 so that you don't barrage the server constantly, whether it's Gmail's IMAP or a locally hosted IMAP or however it is. IMAP, you put the longest time wait in between so it doesn't have what's called server timeouts. Under the read section, what I have is mark message read after displaying for 0 seconds. That means the moment that I click a mail here, it will mark it as read. It's normally, I think, set to 1 to 5 seconds. I have mine set to 0. Grouped messages, I have that unchecked. Automatically download message when viewing in the preview pane. Yes, I do have that checked. You may not want to have that checked if you're using IMAP. You'll have to mess around with it and see what works best for you. Read all messages in plain text. I don't have this checked, but I will put it to you this way. If you're the type of person that wants to read email in the safest possible way, you want to have this checked. When you have this checked, any HTML that comes through your email will not show. You'll be able to read the text, but it won't show any formatted text. So if you're concerned about something like that, you can have read all messages in plain text. Where it says show tooltips in the message list for clipped items, I have that checked because sometimes it gives a little helpful information. When it says highlight watched messages, you can have a message watched. You can have it in whatever color you want. I would recommend keeping it in red because it's very visible as it should be. If you use news groups, I would suggest keeping the get level to 300 headers at a time so that you don't get a server timeout. And as far as mark all messages read when exiting a news group, I would have that not checked because sometimes you may want to go back and read your unreads. The font section, this is probably the section you'll pay most attention to. When we click on fonts, it'll bring up another window. You have your proportional font, your fixed width font, your font size, and your encoding. The encoding, if you're in the United States or Canada, leave that as Western European windows. For the proportional font, normally it's set to Arial. I have mine set to Segoe UI. You can have it set to whatever you want. The fixed width font is Courier New. Now, if you're the type of person that likes a typewriter style font, you always want to see this when you're composing messages, whether it is in plain text format or whether it's in an HTML format, you want to change the proportional font to Courier New. That's what you would want to do. Now, I don't need to do that, so I have mine set to Segoe UI on purpose. For the font size, I have mine purposely set to smaller because medium looks a little too large to me, so I have it set to smaller. And that's all you need to worry about as far as that's concerned. As far as the international setting, there's only one checkbox where it says use default encoding for all incoming messages. You can opt to use that or not. I don't touch that. For receipts, what I do is I have a checkbox to request a read receipt for all sent messages, and for returning read receipts, I have it never send. So every time I send an email out, if the person receiving it has the ability to send a receipt back, I want it. And if someone requests a receipt of me, I say, no, I will never send it. If you are the type of person that wants to let people know you read their mail when they request a receipt, you might want to do notify or always. I have mine set to never. Secure receipts, if we click this, well, you normally have to pay for anything that's called a digital signature. So being that I like to keep things on the free side, I don't mess with secure receipts. On the Send tab, we have Save a Copy in the Sent items. I always recommend to have that checked. Send messages immediately. Yes, obviously. automatically put people I reply in my address book after the third reply. This is actually a cool feature. This is actually pretty cool, because it used to be that whenever you replied to someone, they would instantly put it into your contact list, and maybe you didn't want that. Maybe you only wanted that address in your contact list after you reply to them a few times. Having this checked, very cool, because then only after the third reply do they actually put you in your contact list, whereas it was instant before, which is kind of annoying. Include message in reply. Yes, you want that in there, because when you're replying to a message, you obviously want the recipient to know what you're replying to. Reply to messages using the format in which they were sent. What this means is that if someone sent it in plain text, you will be replying in plain text. If someone says a formatted HTML mail, you will be replying in HTML formatted mail. So it's actually pretty good. Upload larger images to the web when sending a photo email. Now, I don't necessarily mess with this setting. I just leave it checked. In the mail sending format, you can either choose to have it as HTML formatted mail or plain text. What it basically means is that, do you want the ability to bold, italic, underline? If you do, you put HTML. If you don't care, you just put plain text. As far as the HTML settings are concerned, you can leave that as is. Plain text setting, again, leave it as is. Automatically wrap at 76 characters, leave it exactly as it is. The new sending format is the exact same thing. However, if you use this for news, I would suggest doing everything in plain text. If you post to news groups using formatted mail, you will be hated for it. So definitely do not do that. Always put plain text as far as news is concerned. On the Compose tab, you can leave these as 9-point Arials. You can use stationery here if you want. I would highly recommend not using stationery, because most people find stationery very annoying. It makes your mail unnecessarily large just because of a bunch of formatting crap in it. If you want to use it, be my guest. I would recommend not. If you have to, you can check it, hit select, and you can choose whatever you want, and it'll show a preview on the right side here. I don't use it. I will never use it. I don't think. Actually, excuse me. I know I will never use it. Now, below is actually a better way. Instead of using stationery, you can include a business card, and never send a business card on the news post, but you can do it for a mail post. And what you can do is hit edit, and then this is your business card. You can put in whatever you want, as much or as little as you want, and every mail you send will attach this little, what's called a VCF file. And for people that are using Microsoft Outlook or other email clients that can understand business card files like that, I think even Gmail will understand that. It's much easier, and it's not intrusive. So if you want to do that, be my guest. I don't have it checked because I really don't need to send it. I like to keep my mails as small as possible. Under the signature setting, signatures in the Windows Live Mail client couldn't get any easier. You just hit new, you put in the signature, rich@magna.net, apply, done. That's it. And then on the top, you can do add signatures to all outgoing messages and don't add signatures to replies or forwards. A very cool feature, because you do not want to put your signature in every reply. That's wasted space. So if you're going to do it, have both these checked. I don't use signatures, so I'm just going to remove that and leave it as is. This is options for the spell check. I'm not going to get into this. It's very easy. Just go to the spelling section. It has a really good spell checker in it. For the connection tab, you only need to be concerned with this if you're using dial-up, more or less, or if you want to connect with a different Windows Live ID for whatever reason. Other than that, you really don't have to mess with this, only if you're using a dial-up connection, which you ever have to go here, more or less. Under the advanced section, there's an additional option for IMAP using the deleted items folder for IMAP accounts, message thread replies and forwards, and there's also maintenance over here. Generally speaking, you don't have to mess with that. That is more or less it. In the next section, I'm going to show you how to make email lists, which is a little tricky, but really not. So watch for that in the next section. Take it easy.